There are buildings where tragedy happened, and then there are buildings where tragedy never stopped happening. Places where the air doesn't move right, where light doesn't reach every corner, where silence has a sound, and history doesn't rest. It waits. Perched on a wooded hill in Louisville, Kentucky, this towering brick structure began as a place of hope, a hospital to fight the tuberculosis outbreak that was killing thousands in the early 20th century. But what began as healing became horror. They built tunnels to move the dead in secret. They filled wards with children who never saw their parents again. They experimented. They buried. They silenced. Even now, over 100 years later, the halls of Waverly are not empty. Ask the investigators who fled mid-tour. Ask the tourists who left with scratches they didn't arrive with. Ask the voices caught on tape, begging for help. Waverly Hills is more than just a haunted building. It's a memory that remembers you back. And tonight, you'll hear from those who went inside. Based on real reports, based on real fear. The Death Tunnel. Sarah had walked the Death Tunnel before. As a tour guide, it was her job. She'd led flashlight groups, joked with ghost hunters, reassured skeptics. She thought she'd seen it all, but she had never walked it alone. Until that night. It started simple. She was just staying late. Everyone had gone home. She had her flashlight, her phone, and her gear. The tunnel, she told herself, was just a long hallway. But the air shifted the moment she stepped in. It was like walking underwater. The pressure was immediate. The silence overwhelming. Her footsteps echoed. But not right, like they were overlapping or being followed. The walls sweated. Rusted rails ran along the floor, once used to cart bodies down the hill without drawing attention. Officially, thousands passed through this tunnel. Some say it was more. She turned on her EMF meter, nothing at first. Then about a third of the way in, it spiked. Sudden, erratic. Her breath became visible, even though it was July. Then came the sobbing. A woman's voice, crying in the dark. Sarah froze. "Hello?" she called. The sobbing stopped. Then a whisper, barely audible. She raised her recorder. Later, when she played it back, the voice was clear. "Help me." Her flashlight flickered. The EMF spiked again. Something brushed her sleeve, light and cold. She turned and started walking back. Not running, not yet, but fast. Then she saw her. At the far end of the tunnel, just barely lit, a figure, tall, thin, in a white nurse's uniform, her face hidden by shadow, head tilted. Sarah stopped, blinked. The figure was gone. There are stories about a nurse who contracted TB and died in the tunnel. Some say she was a patient pretending to be staff. Others say she worked until the end, refusing to leave her dying patients, until she became one. Whoever she was, she stayed. Sarah never walked the tunnel alone again, and when she hears sobbing in her dreams, it always comes from somewhere underground. Children's ward. The children's ward doesn't look like a horror movie. It's worse. Painted cartoon murals still cling to the walls. chipped and faded, but smiling. Rows of beds rust in place. Stuffed animals lay crumpled in corners. It looks abandoned, not haunted, but Mike and Jess knew better. They arrived around 11 p.m., ready for a controlled investigation. EMF meters, night vision, audio recorders. They started their sweep like always, professionally, skeptically. Then they saw the teddy bear. It was sitting in the middle of the hallway, upright, clean. Jess said, "That wasn't there 5 minutes ago." They hadn't touched it. They were sure. Mike walked toward it slowly. The air grew colder, fast, and then the bear moved. Not much, just a tiny wobble. But that was enough. Then came the laughter. Light, playful, high-pitched. Jess snapped her head around. "Did you hear that?" Mike didn't answer. He was staring down the hallway, where the lights, long disconnected, were blinking on. At the door, Jess saw the window. A child's handprint pressed into the dust. Fresh, small. They crossed the threshold, reached the hallway. Then, from behind them, one final whisper. "You forgot to say goodbye." The bell tower. The bell tower is sealed off. Officially, it's unsafe, structurally unsound. But unofficially, it's something else. Anna didn't believe in hauntings. Her channel focused on debunking the supernatural. She snuck in for content, proof that Waverly's scariest story was just that, a story. She made it halfway up the spiral stairs before the air shifted. It got heavy, not warm, not cold, just heavy. At the top, the bell sat silent, still bolted in place, rusted, harmless. She set down her recorder, took a few pictures, said out loud, "I'm not afraid of you." That's when it rang. One deafening clang, sharp enough to rattle her chest. She stared at the bell. It hadn't moved. Her recorder buzzed, her flashlight flickered, and then she heard breathing, slow, steady, right behind her. She turned. Nothing. But in the window, just past the cracked pane, stood a woman. White dress, pale skin, lips barely parted, watching her. Not a reflection, not an illusion. Anna stepped back and heard the voice, whispered, cold, "She's watching you." The woman vanished. Something brushed Anna's neck, cold, wet. Fingers? Hair? She didn't wait to find out. She ran, nearly tumbled down the stairs. Reached the bottom, panting, shaking. Outside, the night was still, but the recorder kept running. When she played it back later, a second voice whispered just before the file ended, "You'll come back." Anna never did. There are places where the past lingers, where the dead don't rest, where the air itself remembers suffering. Waverly Hills is not a story. It's a scar, one that never healed, one that never stops bleeding. Ask those who've walked the tunnel, who've heard the laughter, who've faced the figure in the tower. They'll tell you the same thing. Waverly Hills doesn't want to be forgotten. It wants to be felt. And once it knows your name, it never lets go. Thanks for watching. If this haunted you, subscribe for more true horror drawn from real places. More stories are waiting. More voices want to be heard.